South Australian Murray-Darling Basin Board became involved with the Mallee Seeps about 2009 when a farmer from Wanaka came and told me about these bare areas that were appearing in his paddocks. And we thought, oh, it's just a classic discharge-recharge salinity issue. But upon looking at these soaks, we realised it was a lot more than that. Obviously, it's an NRM issue and it's also affecting productivity. So we've done a few investigations and we've set up some trials across the region so we can make some agronomic or environmental options for the farmers to increase productivity.
A Mallee Seep is an area of wetness, and it's an area that becomes so wet it becomes non-arable, where crops can't be grown, and so wet that it's wet all through the year and not many plants actually can grow at all. Mallee Seeps are caused by excess water in the environment, and it's really a water balance issue. So if the crops and other plants that have been growing in the landscape don't use all the water will go elsewhere, and if it can, it will go down to depth and join the deep water table, which in most of Mallee is quite deep, 50 metres or so. But if there's a layer that restricts the downward movement of the water, it will move sideways and may even come close to the surface and cause a seep. The way that farmers recognise seeps seems to be when they get their machinery bogged, and this can be at, or almost bogged, this can be at seeding times, even be at harvest time. Eventually they get to the stage where they're not game to go through that area anymore, and the crop growth is failing in that area as well.
We started seeing seeps in about 2008. They're increasing in size, so taking out some of our more productive land.
The thinking is that it's because of summer weed control on deeper sands and on sand dunes. So there's better weed control, there's less water being used over the summer period and more water available for seepage.
Okay, across the Mallee there's been soaks for a very long time. There's a number of soaks that have seemed to have appeared on the landscape in the last 10-15 years, which seem to be a direct result of changing farming systems. And the sort of changes we're talking about is probably continuous cropping with full summer weed control. A lot of those areas that are surrounded by non-wetting sands, it seems that there's a lot of more moisture getting into these localised catchments, flowing through to an area of a lower area or an area where there's clay close to the surface, appearing on the surface and then turning into a soak. That means it's very hard to crop productively because of the wetness.
And what we've discovered with soil pits like this one, as well as some deep drilling work, is that we've found an impenetrable clay or an impermeable clay up to 10 metres depth in some instances. It tends to get close to the surface near the seep. Here we're about 50 metres above a seep, in a hill slope above a seep, and you can see water soaking in at the very bottom of this pit. So there's a layer somewhere below this that the water's running across. And so this pit's been open for about 4 hours, and you can see the amount of water that's already seeped in, and that's moving on this deeper layer and then manifesting in the seep a bit further down the slope. To reduce the impact of seep is actually quite tricky. So there's two ways you can go about that. You can accept that you have a seep and there's a water imbalance in the landscape. But the main thing is to try and grow something on the seep to stop it from eroding away. Now the other thing that can be done about seeps, and this is the harder thing, is to actually change management across the landscape. And this means more crop growth, which means more water usage, but also means trying to get crop growth, pasture growth in the summer period, where in much of the area that's farmed with continuous farming, there's nothing growing over summer, so there's nothing using that water for probably 6 months of the year.
Financially, for farmers, the soaks can be quite costly in that they can't actually farm those areas. It means that also sometimes they might have tractors getting bogged, or even just having to go around areas or treat them differently, or maybe even take them out to plant trees or something like that. Is all comes at a cost.
We've got these trial sets set up across the region, and they can also always contact myself at the Murray Bridge Natural Resource Centre. We think we will be able to hopefully have some solutions in the near future.